Hello, how are you today? Just had the summer solstice a couple of days ago, and this is the time of year in Ireland where you would have Bonefire Night. And about two years ago, I wrote a little short story of my memories of Bonefire Night growing up in Killybegs up in County Donegal. So I'm just going to read the story to you, and I'll post it again so that people can catch up and stuff. And I know. And I'll say this in the story, but the posh of us say bonfire, and then the locals of us say bonefire. So anyway, Bonfire Night. Ireland is a Pope-loving Catholic country. At least it was when my childhood took place in the Northwest back in the 1980s. We had a rocky relationship in recent years with the church. Back then, we had the old rose-tinted sacramental glasses firmly affixed. We have a history of defending the faith and being a stronghold of Christianity and Catholicism. The good monks of Ireland saved Christianity and civilization during the Dark Ages, fended off the raiding Vikings, and fought the British for generations to protect our right to practice the Catholic faith. However, around the summer solstice, the longest days of the year, we freely give up on our Christian faith and embrace our pagan ancestors' tradition of Bonfire Night like a bunch of brilliant heathens. Observed on the 23rd of June in honor of St. John, it's a tradition hijacked by the Catholic Church from the celebration to the Celtic goddess Anya on the summer solstice, the goddess of love and fertility. It still excites me today as it did when I was a kid. One of those events that broke up the year in the mind of a child that didn't fully understand the passing of time, of weeks, months, seasons, and years, and all that linear stuff. Days like Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's, beginning of school and end of school, and then Bonfire Night. We'd hear the older kids in our street talking about it, Bonfire Night, and see them start to gather firewood from the mountain at the back of our collection of council row houses on St. Cummins Hill. As a side note, it could be bonfire or bonefire, depending on where you lived. I know I said bonfire until my teens, and after seeing the movie Bonfire of the Vanities, I will stick with the less fancy name, as bonfire definitely smacks of the old culty tongue of my youth. As small as we were, we would join in the collecting, the gathering, the scavenging, hunt for dead wind bushes and trees small enough to cut down with borrowed hatchets and hacksaws. Anything that can burn from our homes that wasn't wanted. Old newspapers, cardboard boxes, school copybooks, broken furniture. The designated spot was top of the hill where Old Fincher Road began, about 30 yards away from the Maguire's house at number 1. We had to be careful not to build the house too close, because in years past, some of the fires were too big and too close, and the smoke stained the side of their house. The fire would be 20 or 30 feet in diameter, as high as we could throw things without it toppling over. The kids that lived around the circle would have their own bonfire, and down Conlon Road too, our closest neighbourhoods. It would become a competition, a fanatic rivalry to see who could build the biggest fire. There was a rule in our street that we could not put car tires in the fire, even though they burned like crazy and produced tons of thick black smoke that could be seen for miles. Those rules didn't apply to the other two streets, and they had a lot of older kids, and their hunter-gatherer skills far outstripped our own. They were lawless. Anything went with them. I saw one of the teens from the circle throw a bird's nest full of eggs on the fire. Pure savage. We had to guard our fires for fear of rival gangs looting it, or worse yet, setting it on fire before the big night. Young guardians of the bonfire we became, crouched up on the mountain or hiding in the frogs' field, waiting for pillagers that never came. One year, probably 1985, 1986, Conlon Road built the biggest bonfire ever in Killybegs. People said it had over 100 car tires, tractor tires, and even a tire from a jumbo jet that one of the big trawlers had used as a fender. I didn't see it burn, but I went down to Emerald Park to see the devastation the next morning. It looked like a smouldering wasteland of ash and charred remains of wood and the inner wire rings from burned out car tires. A temptation too great for us kids, Pandora's tinderbox. So with my best friend Declan and some other bunding pyromaniacs, we started gathering some of the unburned papers, scraps of wind bushes and hot embers, and fanned the flames back to life. The excitement of seeing the flames jumping up, licking the paper and wood, bursting forth into fire, embedded a primeval joy of becoming the keeper of the flame. We scampered around, looking for more raw materials to fuel the fire. In my pure elation, not looking where I was going, tripped over some wires from the inside of the tires and fell straight into the fire. My cotton nylon poly blended trousers caught fire immediately, my hands automatically going to pat out the flames, but all I was doing was burning my hands. I rolled to the ground out of reflex and pain. I could hear the other kids yelling and screaming. My brain was full of fire, pain, agony. No matter what I did, I couldn't put out the flames. Then, like a guardian angel, Declan's father, Colin Cunningham, was there. He put the flames out, picked me up, and rushed me back up to their house. He plopped me into the kitchen sink and ran cold water over my legs. My hands and legs were covered in blisters. A huge chunk of skin was hanging off my right knee. I was screaming in pain, crying from shock. I know they took me down to the doctor's dispensary and had to cut off the flap of skin with scissors. They wrapped me with gauze, a new word to me. It was yellow, wet, almost opaque, sent my mother home with supplies to redress my burns. It took forever for the skin to grow back on my knee. Every time I looked at it, the flesh made me sick. My first battle scar. You would think this horrific accident would have put me off fires for life. But nope, within months, I was like any other little boy, stealing matches and lighters, making little fires and doing stupid shit. When we moved out of Killybegs town to the 5 Points, our manpower was severely reduced from the army of children we had up the hill. Now it was just Derek, my brother, the 2 clans of Connahan boys, and wee Paul Boyle. But what we lacked in numbers, we more than made up for in fervour and grit. Brendan Connahan was huge, worth about 6 of the small kids from St. Cummins Hill. We cleaned up every dead tree and windbush within a mile radius, scooped up every bit of cardboard and combustible trash with the obligatory broken furniture collection. If you think about it, we were doing a great service, saving all this stuff from the local landfill up at Bulban Reservoir. We were like young Celtic eco-warriors. Goldie Cunningham gave us a site in our front field to build the fire, and we were all warned again, no car tires. Yeah, we get it. I was going to fall into a fire twice. We built it fat and we built it wide, with plenty of dry wind bushes. It started with 1 match. The heat was so intense we had to stand 30 or 40 feet back from the fire. Adults stood around with shovels and rakes to contain any stray sparks or flames that might turn the whole 5 Points into a pyre. As the fire dwindled down and the intensity lessened, Goldie raked the coals, spread them, and popped a few potatoes into the hot ashes and covered it back over. Then she disappeared and momentarily came back with a frying pan and a pound of sausages. It was a simple meal of sausages and jacket potatoes with butter. We enjoyed that night, but basking in the rewards of all our hard work, it tasted like a king's feast. Close to midnight, it turned from dusk to darkness on the longest days of the year. We looked back towards the town of Killybegs. Surrounding hillsides were dotted with the red glow of other fires, like some kind of eerie crimson glow bug. We experienced a feeling of community, no longer competition, of being part of something bigger than ourselves. The connection to our pagan past was very strong in those moments, a hint of what life might have been without Rome and only Celtic Druidic law to govern us. As we settled around the fire, the ghost stories and oral tales of local legends began, the older boys trying to frighten the wits out of us. If you stare into the flames, you'll see the devil, taunted Brendan Cunningham. We focused with all our might, and mesmerized by the dancing flames exclaimed, "Yes, yes, we saw the devil in the flames." That's the end. Thank you. That's just a nice little memory. Totally miss Bonfire Night back home. I hope everybody had a good one and a safe one. And I'll sure to have a little fire in the backyard this week for you. All right, Slán, bye.